Welcome to Retirement Ramblings. I'm Scott, and today is day 124 on my countdown to retirement. So, like every Saturday, I did my weekly financial review, and we ended up the week, to my surprise, up 0.37%. So, we're now up 10.24% across my portfolio for the year. So, I'm pretty satisfied with that. That's a solid year of performance, and we haven't ended the year yet, so I'm pretty good with that. The stock market as a whole also ended the week mixed, and really all the majors were down except for the Russell 2000. That ended the week up. So the Dow Jones Industrial Average finished down 0.2% to 45,545. The S&P 500 was down 0.1% to 6460. The Nasdaq was down 0.2% at 21,456. The Russell was up 0.1% to 2365. 3 of the 11 S&P 500 sectors were up for the week. That was financials, telecom, and energy. Financials was up 0.7%, telecom 0.7%, and energy 2.5%. And then WTI crude was up 0.6% to $64.01 per barrel. Gold was up 3.3%, back above 3,500 to 3,530.70 per troy ounce. Natural gas bounced back up 11.1% to $2.99.7. International markets were mixed this week, with only China and Japan ending the week up. France was the big loser, down 3.3% to 77.04, and the winner of the week was China, and it was up 0.8% to 38.58. Then I made a 1 pound batch of bacon, which we haven't had bacon in like a month, which for us is a really long time. So, and then from that bacon batch, I ended up making 2 BLT sandwiches. And my wife had several pieces of the bacon, and then I had like 3 pieces left over, which I put into a storage bag for use later with a salad. Then I went and got my hair cut. So Tina was in today, so I was happy about that. And then when I went there, I asked her to cut it much shorter than I normally have it cut. And she was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, I really want to try it." So she made the first cut and then watched the hair, fall on my shoulder. And then she picked up the hair and looked at it, and she's like, "Are you really sure?" And I was like, she showed me the back, and I was like, "Yes, really, that's good." So she went on her way and finished doing it. And, I like the way it turned out. My wife thought it was okay. So probably maintain, it a little shorter going forward, because it's been flipping up at the corners, which drive me crazy as it, let's say 2 to 3 weeks after I get it cut. It starts really bugging me. So anyway, then the toner, when I got home, I checked my porch, and the toner from Planet Green had arrived. So I haven't installed it yet to confirm that it's actually an official OEM HP toner cartridge and not a refill. Once I confirm that, I'll let you guys know one way or another. Then I went over to Lidl because I had to pick up some grocery items over there to finish out my weekly shopping. And then from there, shot down the road to Aldi, got a couple of things at Aldi. And then I came home and I made 2 hot sausages on the grill for me, and my wife made 2 chili dogs for herself. Then I started working on my Bolden new scenarios. So first thing I did was I went out to the Social Security Administration website, and I went to the actuary tables, and I, in my baseline plan in Bolden, I have my wife living till she's age 96 in 2051, and I live to 92 in 2053. Excuse me. And I think I've said before, no male in my family's ever made it past 82. So like using those numbers was just an exercise to make sure I don't run out of money. That being said, I went and put in the numbers from the SSA website. I did the calculations, and according to Social Security, I should die the year I turn 82, which makes sense to me, and my wife would die when she's 86. So kind of for giggles, I was like, I wonder what the real day is. Because they give you, a formula or whatever, a specific amount of time. So I took my current age, I added that to it, and then it came up with the day that I should die based on their tables would be October 20th of 2043, which would be just shy of the 24th anniversary of my father's passing. And then my wife would die on December 7th, 2041. And that would suck for another number of reasons, not the least of which it would be to the day 56 years from the day I asked her to marry me. So that wouldn't be a good day from a remembrance point of view for her to pass, and also for the day that I asked her to marry me. Not a good day for that to happen to sync up in my head from a memory. And then from a stress test point of view, I had her, like I said, she passed before me. Then I made another scenario where I passed before her, and so I still died at 82, but she lived until 90. No matter which way I manipulated it, it really didn't change the outcome of my plan. The only thing that it did was alter the amount of taxes I would pay, based on if I lived less, I would pay less in taxes because it wouldn't have the compounding effect that I would have to pay taxes on. So there's things along those lines, but really, it didn't affect in any way. And I looked through all the scenarios, whether it was optimistic, pessimistic, or what I actually think is going to happen. And really, the taxes stay, if in the super optimistic scenario, I go into the 24% tax bracket for a marginal tax rate. In average or pessimistic, I go into the 22% tax bracket, so as the maximum marginal tax rate. But net, let me get my notes over here. My lifetime tax rate, when you blend everything out between the years that I don't have to pay taxes and the things in the end, my lifetime tax rate in an optimistic scenario where I'm like really getting a return way beyond what I think I'll ever get would be 11.2%. In my expected scenario, what I actually think is going to happen would be 9.2%. And in a pessimistic outcome where, it's way worse than I thought, it would be 8.7% as my blended lifetime tax rate. And then when I went back and said, well, what's my actual withdrawal rate, for my expenses, assuming that I've got the expenses calculated properly for each of the different scenarios. And in my optimistic scenario, I'm taking out like 2.9% withdrawal rate. In my expected scenario, it comes out to be 3%. And in my pessimistic scenario, it comes out to be 3.4%. And so in all cases, obviously, it's less than 4%, which, from the 4% rule, you would not run out of money in 30 years. And in my case, I'm not going to live 30 years no matter which way I figure it out. And so in all cases, I should be good. So anyway, that's what I did there. I may play around with it a little bit more, but I was pretty satisfied with, what I learned today. And then for dinner, I ended up making a strip steak with onions, garlic, broccoli, and a brown gravy sauce. And then we had that over buttered rice. So it came out, okay. My wife didn't think it actually had that much taste. I thought it was okay. It wasn't super beefy. It wasn't super oniony. It wasn't, it didn't have an overly powerful garlic taste. So, but it was certainly edible. I had some leftovers, so I saved those for probably lunch tomorrow. Anyway, that's my update for today. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section down below or drop me an email at myretirementramblings@gmail.com. Otherwise, I hope you have a great evening, and until tomorrow, take care.